He spent his life savings on a quiet cabin in the mountains. But when he arrived, there was smoke rising from the chimney, and a woman he'd never met was standing on the porch screaming, "Get off my property before I call the cops." That's when he realized someone had stolen his house while he was still alive, $87,000. That is what Garrett Hayes thought he'd just lost when his tires crunched into the gravel driveway of his newly bought mountain cabin. I saw a stranger SUV parked out front. Smoke drifted from the chimney. Curtains he didn't own framed the windows. And a furious woman on the porch was already shouting, "Get off my property before I call the cops." Garrett froze, the crisp November air burning his throat. He clutched the folder in his hand, the deed, proof that this land, this house, was his. But the woman, a blonde in yoga pants and a manager's fury, wasn't bluffing. Behind her, a man appeared, thick-built, in a camo hoodie and Carhartt boots. "You got scammed, buddy," the man sneered. "This place belongs to our family." Garrett had seen a lot in 52 years' storms on power lines. Hospital bills that could drown a man, but he'd never seen someone steal his home while looking him dead in the eye. When the sheriff arrived, hope flickered, then died. "This is a civil matter," the deputy said, siding with the locals. "Take it to court." Garrett's jaw tightened. The strangers stayed. The law drove away. He'd been robbed in broad daylight, and nobody cared. Garrett Hayes was a retired union electrician from Pittsburgh. 30 years climbing frozen poles, saving every extra dollar. His wife, Helen, had lost her battle with cancer 3 years earlier. Before she died, she told him, "Go live your dream, baby. Don't just exist." That dream was this cabin, a fixer-upper tucked into the West Virginia ridge. 40 acres of pine and silence. Bought legally at foreclosure auction, title search clean, foundation solid, paid in full life insurance and overtime savings. Now someone else was cooking dinner in his kitchen. He and his friend Des checked into a damp roadside motel, the kind that smelled like wet carpet and broken promises. Garrett spent the night scrolling through property law. What he found chilled him. The blonde squatter Pamela Sutherland wasn't just anyone. She was one of the top real estate agents in the county. She knew every foreclosure before it hit the market. And her husband, Randall, county building inspector. By dawn, Garrett understood the game. They weren't ignorant squatters. They were professionals. If they could drag the case through court for months, years, they could live in his home rent-free. Flipping the narrative into poor local family versus outsider investor, the next morning, Garrett received a CC&D-sist email. Pamela. His lawyer claimed his purchase was fraudulent and threatened him with harassment charges if he set foot on the property again. It was intimidation, dressed up in legal paper, so Garrett fought back. He found an attorney, Beverly Frost, semi-ritered but sharp as a tack. She flipped through his documents and whistled. "Honey, your title's cleaner than a preacher's conscience, but they're counting on one thing you giving up." Beverly filed for emergency eviction. Court date, 6 weeks, lifetime in bureaucratic time. In the meantime, Pamela and Randall doubled down. Garrett drove by the house a few days later and saw fresh concrete being poured in a legal addition, expanding the home he legally owned. He filmed it, sent it to Beverly. "They're building a case for sweat equity," she said. "Let them dig their own hole." Within a week, Garrett's bank froze his credit line. An anonymous complaint claimed he'd committed real estate fraud. The timing wasn't coincidence. Randall had friends in every office, every favor called in, every string pulled tight around Garrett's throat. He stood in that motel room, staring at the flickering neon sign outside. "They're not just stealing my house," he muttered. "They're trying to erase me." Then came the smear campaign. Pamela posted online that he'd conned her family out of generational land. Facebook groups exploded. Strangers messaged him, "Thief, go back north." Someone even threatened him. He stopped answering unknown numbers. Still, he refused to quit. He'd promised Helen. Help arrived from an unexpected place, a diner booth. Lanny Pritchard, a retired county clerk, overheard Garrett on the phone with Beverly. "You're fighting Pam Sutherland?" she asked. "Honey, I got stories." Lanny took him to the dusty county archives, where paper still ruled. There, buried under decades of mildew, they found it, the original 1972 deed. The Sutherland name was nowhere. And an eviction record from 1987, Pamela's great-uncle, just a tenant, kicked out for non-payment. Her family legacy was fiction. Lanny also remembered two other foreclosure buyers who'd faced similar claims. Both had quietly settled, paying Pamela to disappear. It wasn't a family feud. It was a business model. Garrett finally had proof. Armed with evidence, Garrett went to Sheriff Hooper. The man barely glanced at the documents. "This doesn't change the civil matter," he said flatly. "You mean you won't enforce the law because Randall's your buddy?" Garrett snapped. "Watch your tone," Hooper warned. "I'm keeping the peace." That's when Garrett realized this wasn't incompetence. It was collusion. 2 days later, Randall appeared at the motel, leaning against Garrett's truck like he owned it. "Let's be reasonable," he said. "I'll buy it off you. 80,000. Walk away clean." Garrett folded his arms. "I paid 8 to 7, plus legal fees, plus 3 months of hell. Final offer 75. Randall smiled thinly. "Or I'll make sure every permit you ever need in this state disappears." Garrett's jaw clenched. "Get off my truck." Randall left in a spray of gravel. Beverly went on offense. She filed ethics complaints against Randall for conflicts of interest, against Pamela for fraud and abuse of her realtor's license. She filed with the state attorney general, the real estate commission, even the local press. Every move built pressure. Pamela struck back by filing a restraining order, claiming Garrett stalked her by driving past his own house. The local judge signed it. Now he couldn't come within 500 feet of his property. Then the local paper ran a slanted story. Local family battles outsider-investor over mountain home. Pamela cried on camera, claiming he wanted to steal her grandkid's house. The video hit 40,000 shares. Garrett was now the villain. The harassment escalated. Someone slashed all 4 of his truck tires at the motel, shattered the windows, spray-painted leave across the hood. When Sheriff Hooper arrived, he shrugged. Probably kids. Happens." Garrett stared at him, fury shaking his hands. "You know damn well who did this." Hooper didn't answer. That night, Garrett sat on the motel bed, staring at his phone. Helen's picture smiled back. He heard her voice in memory. "Go live your dream, baby," he whispered. "I'm not done yet." A week later, Beverly's paralegal found a ghost buried in the county archives. 2009 tax lien certificate. Pamela's great-uncle had owed $14,000 in back taxes on a completely different parcel of land. The county had foreclosed on that property and bundled it with others, including Garrett S. Cabanunder, a bulk sale managed by Randall's department. It was the smoking gun. Randall had personally signed off on maintenance payments from the bank payments, proving he had been inside Garrett's cabin months before the auction. His own LLC had been paid to secure the property. But he'd moved his family in instead. Fraud, conflict of interest, possibly criminal. Beverly filed an amended complaint. Conspiracy to defraud, theft by deception, and public corruption. When the motion hit the courthouse, Pamela's high-priced Charleston lawyers withdrew from the case. Conflict, they said. Translation, "We're not going down with you." Randall was suspended from his county job pending investigation. The state attorney general's office opened a file, and Sheriff Hooper, suddenly very cooperative, offered to escort Garrett to the property for an inspection. The morning of the hearing, Garrett stood outside the courthouse, the mountain air sharp and cold. Beverly joined him, legal pad in hand. "We've got them cornered," she said. "Don't gloat, just tell the truth." Inside, the courtroom was small wood paneling, creaky benches, the kind of place where locals settled feuds for generations. Pamela sat across the aisle, expression brittle. Randall avoided eye contact. Beverly presented the chain of title, the eviction record, and the maintenance payments signed by Randall's LLC. Then she played the social media clip Pamela's daughter tagged inside the cabin for months before the sale. The judge's eyebrows rose. When it was over, the courtroom was silent. The gavel dropped once. Judgment for the plaintiff, Garrett Hayes. Immediate possession restored. Counterclaims dismissed. Damages reserved for later hearing. Garrett exhaled for the first time in months. Outside, reporters swarmed. He said only one thing. "I didn't fight to win. Fought because it was right." 6 months later, Garrett finally moved into his mountain cabin. The air smelled of pine and wood smoke. He'd rebuilt the porch himself, every board, every nail. Beverly refused payment beyond costs. Seeing justice done was enough, she said. Pamela's license was revoked. Randall faced felony charges for fraud and misuse of office. Sheriff Hooper retired quietly before the next election. Garrett hung a framed photo of Helen over the fireplace. "We did it," he whispered. Outside, snow began to fall over the ridge, soft, quiet, unbroken. For the first time in years, Garrett Hayes was home.